What is going on, y'all? What's going on? Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Yo, I got a question. Do you like pumpkin pie or sweet potato pie? Seriously, or do you like both? Because you know how they say, like, this kind of season is basic white girl season when it comes to that pumpkin stuff, you know what I mean? But I realized somebody schooled me that that's actually indigenous folk shit. You know what I'm saying? Like what sweet potato pie is to black folk, pumpkin pie and pumpkin stuff is to indigenous folk. It's not a basic white bitch thing. Like, it's stuff that they appropriated and took. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, if you like your pumpkin, do your pumpkin. You know what I mean? Like, you deserve to. I hope y'all had a great holiday. We're about to get into it.
Happening around their neighborhood and all.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Thanks for tuning in. It's the Leon Block. I'm John Tell, your kinfolk with the info. Now streaming live, as y'all should know by now, on Wave Crave Radio, which is the hottest urban wave in the 717, playing the best hip-hop, R&B, soul, and gospel interviews, cover waves, you name it. But also, you're tuning into the Leon Block on Wave Crave Radio and streaming live to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. But you can also catch us on TikTok and Instagram. So make sure you subscribe and catch the vibe, y'all. Show us some love. So what's going on tonight? Well, y'all remember, y'all been hearing about these book bans, right? And like book burnings from the CRT movement, the critical race theory movement, if that's what y'all want to call it. You know what I mean? That's been going on, but there's other kind of book bans going on too. And being a queer person, that's something I wanted to shed some light on tonight. So this is something that I think you might like. I don't even know how I necessarily feel about this, okay? Because this is heavy. This is heavy stuff. And this isn't for like high schoolers. This isn't, well, it is, but this isn't necessarily for like, it definitely isn't for elementary school kids. You know what I mean? This is definitely for, I remember being in middle school, and this is the time and age that I was definitely looking for this kind of material to read and understand the world, especially from a queer person's point of view. Like growing up, I didn't have any books like that. So I think it should at least be made available to kids that are seeking it. But I will say that some of these arguments might be, it depends on how you look at it. So there's a few articles I have here, but I'm gonna tell you the list of the names of the books that I have, right? And so you might find them problematic just by hearing the titles of books, but you also need to understand the context of what's in these books. You understand me? So the one book is called This Book is Gay. Legit, it's just called This Book is Gay. And the cover of the book is a rainbow. And there's a list of 40 fantastic LGBT books to read, and that book is a part of that list. So, I mean, it must be a good book, right? I'm pretty sure the people that are sitting here being so outrageously, starkly against these books being available are the same ones that saying they don't want their white kids to learn about our history, but about the atrocities that were cast upon black folk. Parents turned 50 shades of red after at least one book with sexually explicit content was found in Bastrop School District Library. Two concerned mothers voiced their frustrations to school trustees Tuesday during the public comments period of the board's meeting and read aloud from books with explicit imagery that they said are available in school libraries. But before reading from the book, Kim Dunlop offered other parents at the meeting a warning to keep their young children from listening. They may not want to hear this, though they can read it in our library. My point, they can read it in the library if they choose to. And I think people bringing awareness to it probably just bring, like, I don't know. That's not true. I don't know. I want to know how y'all feel about this, actually, because you can hit us up through email, leonblock@gmail.com, theleonblock@gmail.com, or DM us on our Facebook page, the Leon Block Independent Media. So, yeah, in one of the books called Lawn Boy, one of the phrases says, I sucked his dick and he sucked mine. Okay, what is the context behind this book? What one of the parents said, why are we allowing that to be available to our children? Is anyone okay with that? Because I know I'm sure as hell not. Now, I get where she's coming from, not looking at the context of the books, but also at that age, look, anyone know D'Angelo Wallace, the social media dude that does his own videos and talks about the stuff that's going on in the world? Shout out to D'Angelo. For real, he talked about this girl that is like advertising for energy drinks, right? But she's like all sexed up and people thought she was like, just 17. No, this girl's 13. 13, and they got her dressing up like a Playboy bunny with long ass nails and dressed like she's like a grown ass woman, makeup and everything. You wouldn't know that she was 13 until it came out. It's just like, what the fuck are we doing to our kids? But when it comes to educating our kids about something and it might have some explicit content, but for an actual purpose, you want to be up in arms about shit. The fuck? Now, like I said, there has to be some context behind this to explain why these books are here. They were put here. They're put there for a reason. Librarians check these books, right? They vet these books. So I want to know what librarians think about, honestly, what librarians think about this book and any of these books and their reasoning behind keeping them in libraries and what they feel about people being upset about them being in libraries. I want to know what y'all think too. So make sure you comment, like, follow, subscribe to the Leon Block and Wave Crave Radio. We are on all social media platforms. And Wave Crave Radio is on all streaming services. I'm going to drop a whole bunch of links for y'all because I can't find the right words to really explain this the way that I really want to without I feel like somebody jumping down my back. And I wish I had a co-host tonight to really go in about this. So I think I might scratch this topic for now tonight, just so that I can find someone appropriate or people appropriate enough to have a good sound debate about this, because I feel like this would be a really good debate. And I don't have a co-host tonight. It is just me, and that is quite all right, because I do have a loaded show for y'all. Packed with some news. I hate saying news. With some current events. Oh, by the way, happy birthday to Democracy Now! Celebrating our 25th anniversary. Been around for 25 years, providing us with the real deal of news. I think people forget what news actually stands for. Notable events, weather, and sports. And if you're calling yourself news, but you're not providing weather and sports, then you can't call yourself news. I don't provide weather and sports. Therefore, I can't call myself news. How'd y'all enjoy y'all colonizers holiday? Did you have fun? I mean, I watched a turkey get fried. That was pretty dope. All right. Where we at? School board meeting ends early when parents applaud man's racist comments. Yes, y'all. Yes. You know what? We're going to see more and more of accounts of stories such as this, simply because of the nature of what is going on in our country today. So this is not surprising. This happened in the town of Basking Ridge, New Jersey, which ended early after parents applauded the embarrassing comments. The man, who identified himself only as Mark from Gladstone, accused the Bernards Township School Board of teaching our kids about race and how to hate each other. I think it's quite the contrary, bucko, but okay. This is horrible. Teaching our kids about race, how to hate each other. Teach white kids, oh, you got to give up your opportunity if you get one and give it to somebody of color. And then we teach kids of color, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're brown, so you just get. Really? Oh my goodness. Nobody seems to care about these kids anymore, the man continued. It's all virtue signaling. It's all about politics and all about hating Donald Trump. Anyone that's a conservative or a Republican. You want to talk about racism and being called names? It's called toughen up. It's called grow a set. Oh my goodness. During an hour-and-a-half meeting on Monday, parents and others reportedly criticized the board over concerns that CRT has been used in teacher trainings. Critics also accused the board of not doing more to quickly inform the community about a teacher recently arrested and accused of sexual assault. Wow. Article in the comments for y'all. Prince William, accused of racism over African population comments. Has anybody heard about this? The fuck? I mean, yes, we know that they're racist. I haven't heard. I don't follow them, honestly. And to be quite frank, I can give a fuck. But this caught my attention. I want to know what it is that he actually said. That because it says that he didn't mention population growth, but his comments were condemned by many on Twitter as an attack on the continent's black population by a figurehead from an institution with a colonial history. Ooh. Wow. Interesting. Oh. I don't get it. I'm gonna post it in the comments so y'all can check it out because I'm kind of confused as to what they're saying with this article here. You let me know. Or are they just really making us think because he said something about Africa? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. Make sure you subscribe and share. This is what I get for looking up articles where I shouldn't be. I did want to share a video with y'all about, well, here, let me share the article first. This is via Democracy Now! Shout out to Democracy Now! Celebrating their 25th anniversary. That's big. That is fucking big. And so, if anyone is familiar with Yinta Access, they're a group that is providing kind of like Stop Line 3 in northern Minnesota, except they're in Canada. And there's actually another pipeline and situation going on up there with, you guessed it, another Canadian, what you call it, corporation that is hell-bent on destroying the earth by drilling for resources that are not renewable and just shoving indigenous populations around, taking their water, their land, their food, their resources, and destroying it essentially. And of course, indigenous populations don't ever back down. So this footage that you won't see but you will hear is talking about a raid that happened as people were trying to stake their claim on the land, save the land that they have. So it's pretty interesting,
Tuesday evening after being arrested.
Powerful
Friday
stuff
during
you
a
can
violent
hear.
raid
So just
by
listen.
Canadian federal police on one of the camps set up to keep Coastal GasLink out of sovereign Indigenous territory. The raid ended a 56-day blockade of the drilling site in Canada. The 400-mile pipeline within Wet'suwet'en land violates both Indigenous and Canadian laws. 15 people in total were arrested Friday, including 2 journalists. One of them was documentary filmmaker Michael Toledano, who just released this dramatic footage of the raid.
They're walking through the door. They're breaking it down.
Breaking down the door. Get out here. Breaking down the door. Show me your hand. Show me your hand.
Get that gun off me! Get your gun off me! Lower your gun!
Everybody.
Get your gun off me!
So there's a
The RCMP have breached the door. They are acting under the authority of the injunction.
attack dogs are there,
There are attack dogs here.
standing there, right beside
Militarized
the door.
police. They used axes found in camp to break down the door,
And a chainsaw.
and a chainsaw that they found in camp.
You're under arrest.
Don't touch me!
Don't touch her.
Get your hands off her!
You're under arrest.
Get
Get
your
over
hands
here.
off of her!
Come here. You're under arrest.
So it's in territory!
I'm filming a documentary for CBC television.
No problem. You're under arrest. Get that out of my face and back up. You're under arrest.
For the record, I'm a member of the media. You've been notified that I'm here. I'm
You're under arrest right now. Step out. Okay.
I'm coming with you. I'm coming with you.
Camera.
You're under arrest.
Get your motherfucking dogs, yo.
I'm a member of the media. I'm filming a documentary for CBC television. You are twisting my wrist. I'm a member of the media. I'm filming a documentary for CBC television. I have press credentials.
Footage of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police raiding Camp Coyote on Friday, filmed by documentary filmmaker Michael Toledano, who was arrested during the raid, then jailed for 3 days. Visit democracynow.org to see our recent interview with the Wet'suwet'en.
Yo, that's what I'm talking about. The raid involved about 50 police. They violently raided territory that was not ceded to Canada or them themselves. They removed on the 19th Indigenous women from the land at gunpoint on behalf of TC Energy's proposed coastal gas link pipeline. And the raid, like I said, involved about 50 police, including 20 tactical officers in green military fatigues with assault weapons and attack dogs who surrounded the camp. That's what you heard in the video and the audio as well if you're watching on Wave Crave Radio. During the raid, the RCMP breached 2 structures, and that's what you heard in the audio, which was a cabin that they were breaching into on the proposed drill pad site and a nearby tiny home. The RCMP cut the camp's satellite internet and radio antenna cords, and the police attempted to enter the tiny house. But when one of the activists supporting the chief demanded to see a warrant, police then broke down the door with an axe and a chainsaw, and that's what you're hearing in the audio, belonging to the land defenders, and arrested everyone inside. Police also entered the cabin with a chainsaw and arrested everyone there. For 56 days, the land defenders reoccupied their ancestral territory, blocking the coastal GasLink pipeline from drilling beneath the Wet'suwet'en headwaters. The land reclamation known as Coyote Camp was established to protect the sacred lands. Over the course of November 18th to 19th, 32 people were arrested, including 3 journalists and 3 legal observers. All land defenders have now been released from prison with a February 14th court date. And I'm going to drop some links in the comments if you'd like to take action, if you'd like to email Yinta Access, if you'd like information on how to follow them on Facebook, on Instagram, if you'd like to donate or pressure the government, banks, or investors, or if you want more information on developing stories, I've got it all here for you. Bam. Dropped it now, and I'm dropping that on Facebook and YouTube for y'all. Actually, I'll drop it on Twitter too. You know what I always talk about one thing I dislike, right? Because I'm allowed to say one thing that I can complain about is when I want to post a link to YouTube and it doesn't let me. It grinds my gears. Oh, I can't do that one. All right, so I'll post it to Twitter later. There's something from Twitter, actually a thread that I want to get into, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get into it today or not, because I told y'all and I promised y'all I was going to talk about Brittany and Christina, and I do, and I will. I mean, do you want me to get into it right now? Yo, it's not Yinta Access. It has another name on Facebook. I cannot pronounce this name for the life of me. But I they show a lot of material from Get the Access, so I'm inclined to think that they're affiliated. I'm gonna ask around about this. I just found out about this going on about a week or two ago, and I'm very surprised that I haven't heard anything about it. I get that it's in Canada, but for anyone that is familiar with this story, let me know if this has gotten media attention prior to lately, because I haven't heard about this. If you have info on this, definitely reach out to me, school me, let's talk about it. I want to know more about this situation here. It's crazy we on, you know, it's Thanksgiving and all, and I'm sitting here talking about indigenous people getting their land stolen from them, literally, on Thanksgiving. How crazy is that? I don't think it's too crazy. Sounds like colonialism to me. Sounds like colonizers to me. I don't know. What say you? Yo, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, share, and follow button. We really appreciate it. And you can always shout us out, reach out to us by DMing us on Facebook at The Leon Block Independent Media. You can email us at theleonblock@gmail.com. You can reach out to us on Wave Crave Radio as well. We will have a number up and going for y'all to reach out to us very soon. There was one other topic I wanted to get into. Let me find where the heck I put it. Maybe here we go. So I'm gonna show you the video footage of it, because I think that would do it more justice than sitting here reading the whole thing to you. I think that would be a lot better.
Ordered a group of white supremacists to pay over $26 million in damages for their role
Y'all
in
heard about this,
organizing
right?
the deadly 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. The jury found the organizers guilty of violating a Virginia state conspiracy law, but jurors deadlocked on 2 federal conspiracy charges, including violating the 1871 Ku Klux Klan Act. In August 2017, several hundred white supremacists marched with tiki torches across the University of Virginia, chanting, "You will not replace us, Jews will not replace us, and white lives matter."
What idiots.
The next day, self-described neo-Nazi James Alex Fields slammed his car into a crowd of anti-racist counter-protesters, killing Heather Heyer and injuring dozens of others. On Tuesday, Fields, who's already serving a life sentence, was ordered to pay $12 million in punitive damages.
Wow.
Prominent white supremacists Richard Spencer, Jason Kessler, and Christopher Cantwell, and 8 other defendants were also ordered to each pay over $500,000 in punitive damages.
Wow.
Well, it's unclear how much money the men will actually pay. Many observers are crediting the civil lawsuit with helping to bankrupt numerous far-right institutions. We're joined now by Nicole Lewis, senior editor of jurisprudence at Slate. Nicole, welcome to Democracy Now! In a moment, we're also going to go to Georgia with you to talk about the Ahmaud Arbery murder trial. But right now, talk about the significance of this civil suit, of this, the jury finding these men guilty, and what $26 million means.
Sure. So the lawyers for the plaintiff said that this judgment, this amount of money, really sends a message to other people who might think that they want to show up and commit violent acts in cities, that they can't get away with it, that there won't be, that they won't get off scot-free, that there will be some repercussions. And so $26 million, it's a lot of money, but there's a big question about, will these defendants be able to pay it? Chris Cantwell, James Fields are already incarcerated, and so they're not earning a ton of money. Many of the other defendants are already destitute from all of the pre-investigation leading into this trial, the fact that they are not able to work, that they're now publicly known as white supremacists and neo-Nazis who are, unemployable in a lot of industries and institutions, right? And so I think there is just this big outstanding question of how much money will they actually be able to come up with? And what strategies do they have to be able to extract money from these folks, liens on houses, garnishing wages, things like that. But I think the bigger picture here is that, they came into Charlottesville with the intention to create and start a race war, and that the criminal justice system hasn't found any liability. But in a civil system, we say, you cannot get away with this.
And in terms of the organizations that these men belong to, many of them are either going to declare bankruptcy and then reorganize under other names, or what's your sense of what's happened to the organizations?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. And I think it's the question that we're all, grappling with or dealing with, to say, is bankrupting these organizations, is bankrupting these individuals enough to actually stop the growing threat of the rising threat of white supremacy and Nazism in the United States? We know that there are a number of young men who feel disaffected and displaced, and they're gathering every day in chat rooms to share ideas, to commiserate, to strategize. And so there's a high likelihood that the organizations that exist now become defunct. They turn over whatever assets they might have on hand, and then new organizations are started, and new people come together in chat rooms to plan for this kind of thing. And so I think it's just the open question of, we don't yet know. And I think it's important to point out that this was the strategy used to try to take down the Ku Klux Klan, in the Jim Crow era and through the civil rights movement, right? And so there was some effectiveness there. But again, looking back in time and sort of moving forward, we see that one hateful group, one white supremacist group, just morphed into new factions and new iterations of the same ideology. And so is bankrupting them actually truly enough to stamp out hate?
Fuck no.
I don't think so. I think there are many people who study hate and extremism who know just how extraordinary the threat is, and that financial damages just simply won't be enough to do that.
In October, you co-wrote a piece with Dahlia Lithwick titled "Three Trials in America, the Conversation Playing Out in Courtrooms in Kenosha, Charlottesville, and Georgia are revealing." What do you find revealing about, and the connections between all three of these?
Absolutely. So I think, every few years we get a series of cases that that people look to say, will the outcome here finally be an indication that we have made progress in terms of race and racial relations and racial justice? And so the case in Kenosha, the case in Georgia, the Charlottesville case, I really don't think you could get three sort of bigger, more significant cases. One, Charlottesville, about the rise of extremism, Nazism, our First Amendment rights, like what right do you have actually to create violence in public spaces? The trial in Kenosha about whether or not we have, whether or not the Second Amendment, our gun rights are sort of more important than our ability to peacefully assemble, right? And then we have the case in Georgia that really reflects this long legacy of racial violence in the South. The three defendants are white. Ahmaud Arbery, the young unarmed jogger, was Black, right? And so they just encapsulate all these different components, all these different issues happening in our country.
Now, I want to pause that right there and say something about that, because why do you think that the case specifically with what's his name? Detective Eric D. Valconaire, the killer of Cameron Lamb, he was convicted of involuntary manslaughter for killing Cameron Lamb outside of his home in 2019, and he's going to be serving time and doing time. But it's a one-off, I guess, in the eyes of the media. So they're not talking about it, and they're not going to talk about it because of the nature of this case. But the other 3 high-profile cases or situations that this lady is speaking of are in a certain narrative and scope and range in a way that the media can twist it and bend it to the way that they want for whatever reason it may be. I don't know.
And what Dahlia and I were trying to point out is that the criminal justice system, even the civil system, right? The Charlottesville case is not a criminal case, is simply just ill-equipped to deal with these extraordinary questions of race. It is the same system that disproportionately sends Black and Latino men to prison at extraordinary rates.
Right.
And so when we bring white defendants into the system and ask it to litigate and to say, let's find justice here, many of us watching know that it won't be able to do that. And I think the Rittenhouse trial for many, the Rittenhouse verdict, for many was devastating for that reason. People did not expect that he would be treated the way that he was, that he would be acquitted, right? And so there's another component here. When Dahlia and I watched the jury selection and many of these cases, we could not help but notice just how much prosecutors, the defense attorneys in particular, treated racism like an open question. And so any juror who believed that racism is real, that Black Lives Matter is not a terrorist organization, that in fact it emerged, in response to state-sanctioned violence against Black people, anyone who believed those things to be true was struck from the jury. That it was read as somehow not being neutral and not being objective, and not having an open mind, when we know that these are settled and established facts.
Right.
And so I think we just saw the extraordinary limitation here to say, well, what can we do if the jury pool is now comprised of people whose minds are not made up about Nazism, whose minds are not made up about the horrors, the violence, and the evil of white supremacy.
Right.
And so that's just another extraordinary limitation and something that we saw a thread throughout all 3 trials.
So I want to go to that trial in Georgia right now, which is now in jury deliberations. Again, of course, this is a trial of the 3 white men, a father and son, the father a former police officer, and their neighbor, who hunted down and killed 25-year-old Black jogger Ahmaud Arbery. You recently wrote a piece titled, "Why Are Ahmaud Arbery's Killers So Scared?" Now, I first want to go to the prosecutor, Linda Dunikovsky, during the trial, questioning Travis McMichael.
At this point in time, when you first see him on Burford, he's not reaching into his pockets.
No, ma'am. Not running, no, ma'am.
And he never yelled at you guys?
No, ma'am.
Never threatened you at all?
No, ma'am.
Never brandished any weapons?
Sorry, you're just trying to finish his answer. Yeah, he did not try to be verbally, no, ma'am.
All right. Didn't brandish any weapons?
No, ma'am.
Didn't pull out any guns?
No, ma'am.
Didn't pull out any knife?
No, ma'am.
Never reached for anything, did he?
No.
He just ran.
Yes, he was just running.
Of course.
Clearly a key moment in this trial. Well, on Tuesday, prosecutor Linda Dunikovsky delivered her closing argument.
They started it. They do not get to claim self-defense. And then, of course, provocation. You can't force someone to defend themselves against you, so you get to claim self-defense. This isn't the Wild West.
That, again, the prosecutor delivering her final closing arguments, and now the jury is deliberating today for the second day. Nicole Lewis, again, this piece that you wrote, "Why Are Ahmaud Arbery's Killers So Scared?" Why do you think they are?
Yeah, I mean, so my central thesis for this piece is that fear, on the one hand, is often a just very convenient defense, argument to claim self-defense. I was scared. Was scared for my life, and so I had to take action. But at the same time, it is also very clearly a racist dog whistle.
Yes.
And so what I mean by that is it sends a message to anyone watching, to white America, to say, you understand why I was so scared interacting with this young Black man. And I quoted Travis McMichael to say that, Ahmaud Arbery was overpowering me. And it was so clear that if I didn't act, if he got my gun, that he would kill me. And we have no way of assessing Ahmaud Arbery's intentions, no
Right.
way of knowing if he would have taken that gun and
Right.
shot Travis, or just taken it to say, don't shoot me, right? No way of intoning what would have happened there. And yet the McMichaels claim that they were terrified, even though Ahmaud Arbery was outnumbered, even though he'd been running for miles
Right.
before the altercation. And so I really wanted to shift the frame and get us to try to think about Ahmaud's fear. Right? He's being hunted, stalked by a truck full of 2 white men with guns, with Confederate license plates. He's not sure what's going to happen, right? It's a terrifying moment. It's a terrifying end to somebody's life. But the McMichaels are the only ones who get to claim that they're scared. And this is a defense that we see time and again from private citizens as well as police officers who have all stood trial for shooting unarmed Black people, that they were about to be overpowered, that they were scared, even though they provoked these incidents. And I think that that was what the prosecutor was trying to get at, that you don't get to create a situation in which someone has to defend themselves against you and then claim that you were terrified and had to act.
Well, Nicole Lewis, we're going to link to your piece. Nicole is senior editor of jurisprudence at Slate. Her latest piece, Why Are Ahmaud Arbery's Killers So Scared?
So yeah, let me know what you think and feel about that. So I really am interested to know how people feel about this whole book ban thing, and I want to look into it some more too. But my thoughts are, without even looking at the books or listening to any of the things going on, I really just want to be clear that because I'm queer, I'm already going to be biased as it is, because I think that growing up, I didn't have enough visibility, seeing things, reading things, you know? And when it comes to being Black, I didn't see many things either. And so I live in Lancaster. There's York not too far from us. And this is what happened in York.
Last fall, the all-white school board of the Central York School District unanimously banned a list of educational resources.
And that resource list, which has a lot of bad ideas and some books that I would definitely not want in our district.
And I do not feel it's balanced, and I think it's divisive.
That list includes a children's book about Rosa Parks, Malala Yousafzai's autobiography, CNN's Sesame Street Town Hall on racism.
Racism? What's that?
And much, much more.
This is Hidden Figures. I don't. The movie was,
like from the movie.
Yeah.
So the kids' version of the book from the movie.
Yeah.
It's frustrating for the students.
This is a board that, after hearing their students' concerns about diversity in the district, hearing my struggles with race, being an Indian American, and consistently feeling like I didn't belong, after all those conversations for weeks on end, they still pursued this book ban. I want to learn
Fucking ridiculous.
Genuine history. I don't want to learn a whitewashed version. I want
Right.
to hear all of it.
Talk about
I
it.
don't want everyone to be worried about how we feel, because no one was worried about how BIPOC members of the community felt.
Talk
The ban
about it,
caused
girl.
school librarians to pull books from shelves and is creating real fear among educators.
I have to now, with this resource ban, think twice about whether or not I should or could use a James Baldwin quote as an opening for my class.
There are teachers looking over their shoulders, wondering if someone's going to be at their door, darkening their door, that you said something or you mentioned something or you used something that you were not supposed to.
The fact that all the banned materials are by or about people of color is just a coincidence, according to the school board president. Concerns were based on the content of the resources, not the author or topic, she said in a statement. She and the rest of the school board refused to speak on camera. She says it's not a ban. The materials are frozen while the board vets them. But the process is still ongoing after nearly a year. That suits some parents in this 82% white district just fine.
I don't want my daughter growing up feeling guilty because she's white.
That sentiment is spreading. At least 27 states have passed or are considering policies strictly defining what students are allowed to learn about race. One
This
expert
applies
says
to LGBT
the York
too.
ban is something new.
And yeah, this seems pretty egregious. I mean, I can see how certain trainings or workshops that some parents take exception to seem really outside of what a history class can be expected to do. But the kind of texts that are being banned here make me feel that there is now just sort of an allergy to anything that mentions race or racism.
Yep, this is about more than a book or a movie or even a curriculum, some veteran teachers say. In York, they worry it's a war on their profession.
I am not an enemy of
It
the state.
is.
I am here to take care of your babies when they walk into my
right.
classroom. And there are some I'm looking up at, but they're still babies.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, oh boy.
Seriously, I think that a lot of these folks are going to be in for a rude awakening. Like, let's say 20, 30 years from now, when some of their kids don't want anything to do with them, and they going to leave them to the wolves because they realized racism is real and that their parents wouldn't let them learn their real history. And even the ones that grow up with racism, some of them are going to end up not being racist anymore, and they're going to hate their parents. I'm not saying that racism is necessarily dying out, but it does die with certain people. Not to mention, there's a lot more people of color by the day in America. Sheer numbers, baby. I mean, we definitely have that going for us. But when it comes to money and backing of funds, we're not so great with that. We're getting somewhere though, slowly but surely. But again, back to this whole book banning thing, whether it's LGBTQIA plus people or whether it is Black and BIPOC books, it still leaves people feeling the same way. And that is the point that I'm trying to make here when it comes to these book bans. You can't tell another group that they can't learn about themselves. You can't tell anyone that they can't learn about someone else. You know what I mean? I just don't get people sometimes and the backwards ways of America. But you know what? I digress. I can't. Sometimes I feel like I want to take everything on and do everything, and I can't. I can't save the world, but I wish I could. I could try, I do want to leave y'all out on a good note before I wrap things up, because yes, remember Ahmaud Arbery. And the fact that Travis and the McMichaels and Roddy Bryan are, doing time for the crime, but Eric DeValcanaire is also doing time for killing Cameron Lamb. So Eric DeValcanaire was of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, and he was found guilty on Friday for, like I said, killing Cameron Lamb back in 2019 as he sat in the pickup truck outside of his house. And I guess it's more than remarkable, given the rarity of convictions in on-duty killings by police officers in general. Like, come on. But the judge ruled that the detective, Eric DeValcanaire, had no reason to go on the property of Cameron Lamb, who was 26 and was shot twice as he was backing into his garage on December 3rd of 2019. The detective, who's 43, and another detective have driven to Mr. Lamb's house after receiving a report about a traffic incident involving the truck that Mr. Lamb was driving. But they had no warrant, and did not have a reason to believe a crime had been committed when they rushed into Mr. Lamb's backyard and confronted him. The prosecutors also suggested during the trial that the police had planted evidence at the scene to make it look as if Mr. Lamb had a gun. Yo. The judge rejected the detective's claim that he believed Mr. Lamb was going to shoot his partner and convicted the officer of second-degree involuntary manslaughter with an armed criminal action, a charge that carries a minimum sentence of 3 years in prison. As he ruled, the judge said that the detective had put himself in a position in which he could harm someone. The detective, who is white, and his partner were the initial aggressors in the encounter with Cameron Lamb and had a duty to retreat from the encounter under the circumstances, said the judge. Detective Deval Kinnair had worked for the Kansas City Police Department for 20 years, and he was suspended without pay, but pending termination. And the judge said that they actually, well, the lawyer for Detective Deval Kinnair said that they plan to appeal, of course. It's just sad. Cameron Lamb's mom cried after the verdict. She wept, in fact, and said she was happy and overwhelmed by the judge's decision, but yet she misses her baby and that this didn't have to be. Her son was at home and he was minding his own business when they took it upon themselves to go into his own backyard. Wow. I know I've talked about this story before, but I want to put this out there as many times as I can because it is rare. Dropped it in the comments for y'all. Speaking of comments, y'all can comment, like, follow, subscribe, share to Beyond Block on all social media platforms. But you can catch us live Sunday through Fridays on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And streaming live, of course, on Wave Crave Radio, the hottest urban wave in the 717. Don't you forget it. And you can also catch Fleon Block every week, Wednesdays at 9 Eastern Standard Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where we do interviews, discussions. Sometimes we just shoot the shit and get drunk and talk shit on motherfuckers. It don't matter. But sometimes we have history pieces where we give you some knowledge. Sometimes we talk spiritual, give you that shit. You know what I mean? We like to switch it up. It's not always the same joint every time, but we try to make sure that it's something that you walk away with. Something. You walk away with some kind of gift. You know what I mean? And speaking of walking away with a gift, I think it's time for that story time. Oh, before story time, I want to give y'all a shout out. Amanda White, happy birthday, my love. That's family out here in the good old city of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Amanda White, I hope you have a lovely, lovely birthday. So, of course, I always like to leave people with the story of, well, with the book, Poems and Words from the book The Child Left Behind by Christopher J. Scarver. Again, Black man sitting behind bars. So here we go. Another child is born in the eye of the storm. From the comfort of the womb, its soul is torn. Will it be the kind who will have 100 friends, or the kind who will desire to escape its skin? The answers to such questions will all depend upon how it relates to the world within. Let that marinate. Let that sit. That was called The Escape Within. Again, that is from the author Christopher J. Scarver, Black Man Behind Bars, really trying to put his thoughts out there into the world and let you hear them. I also have the book Pain by Christopher J. Scarver. You can check that out as well. Go Google it. By all means, really appreciate y'all. Always got to drop some knowledge, some info, some creativity, some words for y'all to take away. Let that poem just sit and interpret it however you want to interpret it. You know what I mean? Yo, it's always a pleasure letting me speak to y'all. I really value doing what I do. I really take seriously bringing news to y'all, and I try my best to really find stories that is at the bottom but really need to be highlighted. And don't forget, like, if you have something going on, if there's a situation that you want to highlight, that you want to speak truth to power on, or that you think that people need to be aware of and really know about, reach out to me. You can email me at theleonblock@gmail.com. You can DM me on our Facebook, The Leon Block Independent Media, and let us know if you have anything you want to talk about, you want me to interview, you just want to sit and shoot the shit about something that you're really upset about and you really want people to know about. Let us know. We're here for it. We are your mic and mouthpiece, because we are always covering the topics that mainstream media does not, such as world events, social justice, civil rights, human rights, and of course we support and amplify BIPOC businesses, self-sustainable agriculture, spirituality, and so much more. If y'all want that real raw news, like we all want, we got to do it ourselves, because being informed is important, and without information, the true and real information, we're left in the dark and we're left with the weak spot. But we're going to change that. Yo, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for tuning into the Leon Block. Make sure you meditate on your path, celebrate your being, liberate your spirit, and educate yourself. I'm John Tell. Arm yourself with knowledge and have a blessed journey.
Leon.